So, thank you, Jack. Firstly, I have to tell you a word or two about the Jewish Historical Society, whose presentation this is. As I say, it's our 10th Fireside Chat. It's our job to collect, preserve and disseminate materials on the Jewish communities in Asia, and particularly in Hong Kong. And we regard it as a special part of that job to collect the memories of our community's most eminent and interesting members. And we're lucky enough to have with us tonight 3 or 4 people who've been kind enough to share their memories with us on the previous Fireside Chats. Jack Ormer, Vivian Picciotto, anybody else? Pardon? Ruth Sulky, where's Ruth? Ruth's over there. And Michael, both Michaels, and Sir Robert Dorfman. And so we've got a pretty well majority of previous attendees here tonight as well. And thank you very much. I should ask you please to turn your phones off. I know I always leave mine on. And then all I have to do is introduce Sharon, who's Sharon Sir, who's the current president, chairman of the United Jewish Congregation, who's going to be asking questions on trying to help Silvain impress us tonight, as he will, no doubt, with his powerful, highly personal story of his life and how he came to end up here in Hong Kong. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we can't do anything else with the lights. This is how it is. But Sharon and Silvain Gilbert.
Because there already seem to be a few people who know many of Silvain's stories and anecdotes and wish him well tonight. Now, Silvain is by no means the longest resident in Hong Kong in terms of our series here. Silvain came to Hong Kong in 1996 and married his lovely wife Silvain 2 years later. And your journey to Hong Kong, however, started back in Europe. And it's correct that you were born in Antwerp?
Yes, exactly. I'm born in Belgium, Antwerp, who is the north part of Belgium. I'm here, but it's one of the biggest harbors in the world. And there were, about in these days, about 70,000 Jewish people living in Antwerp, and 55,000 about, yes.
Your own parents, were they born in Antwerp? Or?
No, my parents came from south of Poland, from Galicia, and they came in 1927. My mother joined him a little bit later, and they have some relatives in Antwerp in the diamond business. Everybody was working in the diamond business in those days. And they met in Antwerp, and they married in 1930 in Ostend. Why in Ostend? It's a city on the seaside of Belgium, because in 1929 the whole world collapsed because it was the Great Depression. Some diamond dealers jumped from the windows because they were completely bankrupt. Nobody needs diamond in those days, and everybody was looking to get a job. So they moved to Ostend, and they married there. There was a Jewish community there with a rabbi, a cemetery, and so on. Everybody was very traditional in those days. And in 1932, my sister came to this world. Her name is Tony. And the diamond came back again. The economy, the general economy in the world became better. And in 1935, they came back to Antwerp. And my father has a partner, Flemish guy. It's very important to know that Belgium is divided in two, and you will hear about it later. The north part speak only Flemish, and the south part from Brussels down here, they speak French. It's like two countries in one country, okay?
So at that time, you were born in 1935. You've got a
37.
37. You have a 5-year-old. You have a 5-year-old sister at the time of your birth, and your parents decided to resettle in Antwerp. Your father became established again in the diamond business?
Yes, in diamond business. It was a beautiful community, I mean, very traditional. Everybody was in the same business, what is quite rare. Don't think that everybody was diamond dealer, they were all millionaires. For example, my mother helped my father, even he has a good business, she was making the girl of the diamond at home with a little machine, and she had a contraction, and I can say 1 hour later I come on this road, so I can say I'm born in the dust of diamond.
You were living in a traditional Jewish household?
Exactly. So on Saturday night, on Erev Shabbat, on Friday night, they put the candlelight, everybody was going to the synagogue, everybody was eating kosher, but of course, you know, it was about 55,000 Jewish people, and the world in those days was completely, it was very difficult politically, because there was a big movement for the fascism, and the other side, what they call the Bolshevik, the communists. So a lot of young people from Antwerp went in Spain, where there was civil war, as communists against the fascism. The same year that I'm born, the Germans tried their first weapons, and they just, there is a city called Guernica, was a fisherman village in Spain, and they killed everybody. They were innocent people. There was no strategic point to kill the people. So the people know what will happen later.
At the time of real political upheaval, as you said, the end of the Spanish Civil War, the beginning of Nazi Germany, the beginning of the Second World War. As a young child, when you were living in Flemish Antwerp, was itself subject to changes. It's right that there was a form of Kristallnacht even in Antwerp, is that right?
Let's later on.
In about 1941?
Yes, but let's start with the war, let's say, yeah.
It's, in terms of your history, in terms of the things that impacted on you, in 1941 you had the Flemish anti-Semites breaking into the Jewish neighborhoods in Antwerp.
It's like this, let's say, the war started in 1940. Suddenly the German army invaded Belgium, just like this. It was like Pearl Harbor. I didn't mention nothing. But very quickly, that happens in May, in October, all the Jewish people has to be registered. It never happens before. We are living in a country, you are not different than somebody else. But as a Jew, you have to be registered. It was no problem because everybody was member of a Jewish congregation or a Jewish community. But the first day of the war, in the same street where we were living, a guy, a neighbor, came out with a Nazi black uniform already. And in 1941, it was Pesach, it was Easter time for the Jewish people. They make a sort of Kristallnacht, like in Germany in 1938. They broke down 250 shops in the Jewish neighborhood. They burned, they put in fire 2 main synagogues. They didn't let the firearm come and this and then. I mean, and this was the local people, the Flemish people. I don't speak from the German. So the anti-Semitism was very strong. Don't forget that Belgium is very Catholic, like Poland or like Spain. It was 99% of the person was Roman Catholic. And that happens exactly this way. But it's getting worse every day. The Germans kept in the beginning the diamond industry because they need it. You know the world cannot exist without diamond. Everybody think about jewelry, but it's only 5%. 95% of diamond is industrial diamond. They needed to make the cannon, they needed to cut the steel. You cannot live before this industrial diamond. But after they didn't need the Jewish community, then they start to take your belongings, they start to block you, you couldn't have a profession, if you were a teacher, a lawyer. And in 1942, when they decide what they call the final solution, that means to kill any Jewish human being in all over Europe. And they nearly succeed because we were about 9 million and 6 million were killed. But what concerned me personally more, that they killed 1.5 million innocent children, just because they were Jewish.
Silvain will talk more about the children involved in the war, but 1942 had its first major impact on your family life. Can you tell us a bit what happened in 1942 at the time when many adult men were being rounded up and deported?
So what all the Jewish husbands all over in Belgium has to go in a labor camp north of France, near Boulogne, with a harbor there. And it was very hard work because you have to build fortification, bunkers, and of course there are all diamond dealers or people who have a shop or this. They were not workers to work in hard, difficult. It was very difficult. And but they said they will not touch the family so long the husband is there. That was in summer. Okay.
So, and this meant that your own father was deported?
My father was there, and he could manage because he's born Austrian, because Galicia used to be a part of the empire from the Habsburg, and before the First World War it was Austrian. So his mother tongue was German, and he knows how to write Gothics. And those days it was not the SS, but it was the Wehrmacht, was the regular army, and he could manage to bring anything. Was the director of the camp what he needs. But one day he told him, tomorrow the SS will come. His name was Joseph, you muss nicht zurückkommen, you don't come back. But it was very easy to say. The next day he escaped of the camp and he has to go back to Belgium. But you know, every street, every tramway, where you go, they stop you, you need a authorized, that means you, and he managed to come back, to pass the border, try to make it today without the passport, and come back to Antwerp. What happens in the meantime in Antwerp? In August, that means the same time the whole husband were trapped in France, it's the mayor of Antwerp, that means not the German, he gave order to the local police, Flemish police, to break down in the middle of the night. They came to your home, they break the window, they break the door, and they took all families, from newborn babies to people from 90 years old, any Jewish being, and they threw them in a truck, and then they sent it to a barracks. They were sent to detention, and from there they put the people in cattle train. You know the story. The train takes 3 days and 3 nights to arrive in Auschwitz, and the people had no food, no water. Half of the people were already dead. For Belgium, there were 25,000 Jewish from Belgium were murdered, killed, you know, in the chamber gas.
So Silvain, at this stage, whilst all of this was unfolding in Europe, your father had, thank goodness, escaped from the detention camp and made his way back to Belgium. Your family then was forced to make a very important decision. What decision was that?
In fact, my mother was still alone. We came later on. And she was alone, but she was very smart. My parents know both that there was one Jew who escaped from Auschwitz in 1941. He made picture, he came back, and most of the people know what happened. So, I was hidden already with the partner of my father. And you don't notice, and my sister to his sister. But my mother wanted that we are together, and immediately you have to find a way to hide yourself. But you mean to hide yourself because you were no more a citizen in your own country. If the local police, who is supposed to protect you and organize the deportation of the Jew, if a woman who has a baby, she couldn't go in the maternity, or you cannot go to the hospital, obviously that means they want to kill you. So we have to hide.
So then did your family want to hide together as a family unit, or did they decide at that stage that you would have to be separated from the parents?
So the problem was like this. First of all, a complete family, I mean parents and children cannot hide together. It was impossible. That's one thing. But how to organize for so many people a system that the children, at least the children, should be safe and to be hidden. So there come the Queen of Belgium, the Queen of Elizabeth of Belgium, not from England. She was German-born, and she found a way to save the Belgian children, Belgian nationality. But 95% of all the Jewish people in Belgium, they have no nationality at all. So what happened for the rest? There was a resistance. The resistance had to organize in a very short period, in those days, a way to hide the children. So we need volunteers. So the Queen of Elizabeth went to the Cardinal and asked him to help those children. And what happens in every parish, Christian parish, there were volunteers. And here I have to make a note, very important. Every person who helped to hide a child will be murdered, he will be killed. It happens to us because there is somebody come to our home, my sister and myself, we have to go to the south part of the country.
So at this stage you first came into contact with the volunteer underground movement to move you and your sister away. At this stage you were 5 years of age, and Tony, your sister, was 10 years of age.
Exactly.
Who was the first person you met as part of the volunteer underground movement?
In fact, there is a stranger came to our home. He brought us to Brussels, which is the middle of the country here. It's about 50 kilometers, but during the war, it's not a 1 hour drive. And there we have a meeting point in a hospital, and there were a priest, and this priest has to bring us to a foster family. This priest, the German catch him later, and he was murdered. That's the question. Now the question is, here we come to the really very important point. When you are 5 years old, what do you know about religion? What do you know what means Jewish? What means Catholic, Buddhist, Protestant, whatever? You don't know what means a God. Our parents can explain this to children. Which excuse, if I can use the word excuse, can parents say, listen, we cannot stay together. for a child, your parents abandoned you. And the trauma is still there today. Because your daddy and your mommy said to you, you have to follow this stranger in your good, for your own safety. Which safety? That means what means life and death. When you are 5 years old, you cannot understand what is life and death.
Silvain, do you have any recollection of that moment of departure from your parents? Or is there no recollection of that time?
You know, I follow my sister, and I think it's a mystery till today. I think it's like an instinct of survival, you know, like a dog. And the dog, he knows he has to go there because he knows it's good for him. But to know what means life and death, I understood it years later, when I was myself a father. And once I was myself in the diamond business in Antwerp, and I have a daughter 4 years old in those days, and she followed the Montessori system in school, where they have some animal and they have to care for them animal. They have a hamster, they have to clean the cage, and they have to care for it. And one day she called me, and she cried on the phone, and she said to me, chocolate is dead, chocolate is dead. I couldn't get, I was with customer and this and that, the diamond business. And she is such a soul. What happens? They came once in the morning, and the hamster was dead. And then she realized what means dead, and they buried it in the garden of the school. So it's impossible to understand to a child what means all those...
Sure. At that stage you were dealing with something, I suppose, that's even as scary, which is waving goodbye to your mother or leaving with your sister Tony. Can you remember anything of the journey from northern Flemish Antwerp down to southern Brussels?
As I mentioned to you, it took at least a few days, but you have to also to realize what kind it was. L'Office National de l'Enfance is a national office for children, organized, and they saved 3,500 Jewish children.
How did you get there? Did you go by car? Were you walking? Or
we could get as we can. I mean, the train, we're walking, it takes a few days. It's only 50 kilometers so from Brussels, 100 kilometers from Antwerp. How long it took, I don't know. But for us to come from a large city like Antwerp, with one of the biggest harbors in the world, and to come in the other part of the country, who is French-speaking, who is a little village, 1,200 persons, you don't know where you go. You don't know who you will meet, who are the person, certainly. And you have to see the other side. How people, those foster family, they were volunteer, you know.
So then, who was it that met you once you'd arrived in southern Belgium?
Well, it was not a family, it was a lady. She was about 55 years old. She was from an aristocratic origin. Her father was senator or governor of the National Bank. Anyway, very, very good.
You can remember her name?
Yes, of course. It was Tante, we call it Tante Fanny. Tante means auntie in French. And she has with her a cousin who was quite sick. And there were two. It was a big villa. And they were very, very religious. When I mean very religious, the name of the villa was Massabielle. Massabielle is the name of a grotto. What happens in 1850, in south of France, there was a grotto with the Virgin Mary, and there was a young girl, name was Bernadette Soubirous, and she has apparition. She saw Virgin Mary.
This is the famous story of Lourdes, which I'm sure
Lourdes, yes.
I'm sure many people will be familiar with this. And as far as this family is concerned, with Tante Fanny, in her villa, the apparition of Lourdes was particularly important because of the grotto in the garden?
Well, for us, you know, for a child, you see suddenly a grotto with this Virgin Mary. It was something very strange, you know. In fact, we were playing in this grotto, you know. But just to give you an idea, she made a replica of this grotto. That means all those people were very... They want to save a soul. They want to, you know... There are people, all those people, who hidden children during the war. They, okay, some perhaps think they will convert them, but they couldn't accept that for no reason, that suddenly you are 5 years old, you are death penalty. What have you done? Death penalty.
Tante Fanny and her cousin, they were devout Catholics, and they were taking in children. Was it just you and Tony?
No, it was my sister and me, and there was 2 other girls. You see, that means 3 girls and me, that means 4 children. And it was an enormous shock, because first of all, I couldn't communicate, because I spoke Flemish, I spoke Yiddish, which is a Jewish dialect of German, and there I have to speak French and Wallon. That's the first thing. So that was very difficult to communicate. Don't forget, we are here in a village of 1,200 people. You have to adapt in a very short time. I mean, if you are a spy and you learn it during 10 years, and you know the language, you know everything, you can succeed. But you are a child and you have to make it in no time. So what you do, when we were eating, we have to pray. You have to learn those prayers. I still know those prayers today, you know.
As a preliminary though, Silvain, in terms of this transition that you had to make and to become a different person, we know you as Silvain Gilbert. But at that time, at 5 years of age, was that your name?
No, we have to change also. That's also something very difficult. You have to change your identity. That means my family name is Gilbert, S-I-L-B-E-R. In English is Silver. It's a typical Jewish name who exists since 200 years before Jesus Christus in the Torah, in the Bible. So we have to change this name. In French, you pronounce it Silvain, so they come to the idea to make Gilbert. And so that's my name. My sister was Tony. Tony is the name of my grandmother. But it's also Austrian German name. So they changed it to Marie Antoinette. But you know, it's not obviously Marie Antoinette. But you know, no, it's a joke or it's funny. But you have to remind you, somebody called you, that's you.
and how fast there was now you, and what has become?
I have no idea how fast, but I know that we have to do it very fast. Because, you know, everybody knows each other in a little village like this. And before I was going to bed, I have to pray also. You have to learn all this. And then I have to go to school. The school was with nuns. We learned the catechism, what is, you know, and I was going not once on Sunday in the church, I went twice, okay? If this is not enough, I become an altar boy. I have to help the priest, you know, I was going like this with the instrument, and I learned everything. Here is the best example, is Cardinal Lustiger. The parents didn't come back. He could be a pope, perhaps I would be a pope today.
There were 2 other girls.
It's not a big deal.
Who knows? So now there were 2 other girls in the house with you, Annie and Suzette, your sister Tony, Annie, and also Suzanne. And it was a big villa, you all had your own rooms.
No, it was not, it's not paradise. We were sleeping in one bed together for a few reasons. First of all, there was only one bed. It was not prepared to keep so many children. I was the youngest one. Then there was Annie, who was 8 years old, Suzanne, I think 7, and my sister 10. That was in 1942. We didn't know how long the war will remain. Nobody knows that it will be till 1945. That's another thing. And also the other reason, it was very cold. We didn't have cold. So we don't have cold. So I don't know. In December 1942, there was minus 20 degrees. So I don't know if you realize, suddenly you come from a family, we had everything at home, family bourgeois in the diamond business and everything. I was, and suddenly you come, in such situation, but you have to survive.
Where did you find coal?
Oh, we have to follow the railway because, in the wagons, sometimes they are cold. Sometimes some piece of coal fall down of the wagon, but it was very dangerous. Sometimes there are trains coming from both sides. It happens more than once that my sister or another girl put me on the side. It was really very dangerous. That's what we do. And then we have another big problem, is the food. We didn't have to eat. You should have coupon. Everybody has coupon. But so long we didn't exist, we were no citizens. There was a black market to buy those coupons, but that was quite difficult. My mother could come perhaps 2 times on all those years because it was dangerous for her to come. It was also expedition to come, only 50 kilometers, They stopped to everywhere. And so those 2 ladies shared their coupon of food with us. That's all we have. And the best food has to be for this cousin who was very sick. So what we did, we never saw a bread. You see a bread, you go in the bakery, is a bread. What we did, we followed the harvest. Why? Because there is always some grain falling down. And we collect, like perhaps in Bangladesh or in India, grain by grain to make one bread. Can you imagine this? That's what we had. What we eat, rutabaga. Rutabaga is a sort of
Turnip.
Yes, that you give for pigs to eat. The only good moment, but it was very short time, perhaps for 1 week, 5 days, sometimes there was an alert. It means we have to be somewhere else. To be somewhere else, that was the best time. We have to go in a farm, and there was food. I remember one day they killed a pig, and this pig was terrible. The blood and this, there's something we were not used. I saw for the first time a bread, and first time a tart. But you have to understand as a child, you didn't have toy, you didn't have candies, you didn't have a cookie, you didn't have nothing, nothing at all.
Do you remember being concerned or frightened or aware of the war or a German presence?
In 1944, the headquarters of the German army took the ground floor of the villa, and we had access only on the room.
The place had been requisitioned by the
Exactly,
Germans.
it's the same word in English, requisition. Exactly, that's the word. But for me, the soldier, they see their own children, and they want to give me a candy or something. But I didn't realize at all what's the danger, because any minute, the German can come, pick you up, and send you to Auschwitz. So you have to understand. Perhaps you say, oh, it's 3 years. It's not 3 years. you have to multiply by the days and by the minutes to realize the danger that any moment you could be deported and killed.
When you were located, could you hear the sound of bombs or
Of course, that was the worst. There was the bomb, and you never know if the bomb will come on your head. Okay, it's, you know, what is here, the war is very difficult, it's tough for anybody. But there was a war in the war, because we were Jewish. They want to kill us only as a people. So, you know, you have normally, you hear the bomb, you are afraid, you have a mommy, you have a daddy, but we didn't have. It was this foster mother, she did her best, but she cannot replace the parents, nobody can do this. So I was beating my nails, you know, and then they put some bitter things on it, it didn't succeed, and 2 nails,
They sewed up your sleeves?
my sleeve, so you know, it was really, and then I was looking to have some love. It was missing. She had once a friend come there to visit. I remember even his name. He's a famous count in Belgium. She was aristocrat. And I want a kiss from him. But he just finished a scarlet fever. And that was very contagious, and I get it. And this is a sickness that's so contagious that you have to be completely isolated. So I was in one room during 1 month. It's worse than a jail. And this lady, Tante Fanny, she is the only one because she has to bring me some food. And she has a beautiful collection of postcards from her family where they have been before. And I was just, you know, threw it out like this. What can I do the whole day? I have no toy, I have nothing, I was alone. It's so contagious that after 1 month when it finished, they have to take out the paper. And I was so afraid that I couldn't go in front of a mirror. I saw some ghosts in it. They have to cover it, you know? So the trauma was enormous.
Happily, you recovered from the scarlet fever. And Tante Fanny, how would you describe her as a person? Was she a loving woman? Was she full of cuddles for this 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and 7-year-old as you were becoming?
Yes. Well, she was a little bit like, I wouldn't say a little bit, she was like Mother Teresa to us. And when I think about it, I mean, to do this, to save so many children.
But on a human level, she was a fun lady to be with, she would take you out places, she was good to your sister and to Annie.
She gave us the best education that those days you could get. For example, when we're eating at the table, we may not put the elbow on it. We may not speak, we have to ask if we can speak. We have to ask and then first adult has to speak. You may not, just to give example, you may not go out of the table before they let you go. It was like a protocol for a prince or a king. That's the way they are. But she gave us such a nice education that till today, I say thank you to her. Because, for example, there was a piano. She gave piano lessons. That's the way the young girls in those days had to learn piano. This was a must. So my sister and Annie learned piano. We have a little library. Everybody has to read. Every day of my life I'm reading. So I forget nothing what she told me. And also, I can understand very well people who are different. I mean different. We're all the same, but you know, I can understand Christian people, people who are different. The mentality, because the Jewish people, we have a philosophy of life that is completely different than Christian people. So, voilà.
Silvain, tell me what you remember about liberation.
One thing before, you know, we have sometimes a plane or there's some pilot, British pilot, has to go down with parachute. She hired some pilot also.
Even when the house was
Even with the German Wender horse. Can you imagine? And I tell you, it was the headquarters. There was a big antenna on the roof, and it was going day and night. And we have tank and going here and there. A lot of noise, and she kept. I mean, she is a heroine. That's 100%. That's sure.
She was a heroine, and I understand you're trying to do something very special for Tom.
It's nothing special. That's the minimum I can do. We want to that she, you know, Yad Vashem. We want the writers, you know, all the just, yes, the people who help. It takes a long time, but I must say I wrote a letter to the mayor of the village. He wrote me in no time. He gave me, because I didn't remember exactly. For me, she was old, but of course she was. I find out she was 55 years old. But don't forget, 60 years ago, 60 years it was old. You know. Now people are living 80 years and so on.
Plus. So tell us about tell us about liberation.
Liberation. What also I remember, we were going with her class with a little Belgian flag to when some prisoner, Belgian prisoner, come back in the railway station, and then the British army in the end of 1944. They liberate, they came in the village. We saw also some American. First time I saw a black guy. I never saw a chewing gum. I didn't know about Coca-Cola and all those things, you know. American civilization. But, what happened, you want to know, perhaps, to my parents in the meantime?
I will get to your parents, but you remember greeting the soldiers as they came into Belgium?
Yes, I have the picture here. It's there. Here's the picture, Annie and me and the soldier, beyond. Exactly, in the winter of 1944.
Do look, and having got to this point, happily then, you were reunited with your parents.
Well, I tell you honestly, it was not a joy. It was not a joy because, first of all, we came back my parents were hidden in Brussels. Nobody could hide in Antwerp. So they went to Brussels. They were living in one small room. Don't forget, you don't make a living, you don't have money. How many money you can have? You have to survive during years and years and years. And then suddenly, we were not the same children that in 1942. You come 3 years later. I was 5, you are 8. If it happens in normal time already, you know, 3 years in this, this age makes a big difference. But we couldn't communicate with the parents. I speak only French. Oh, well, it was a local dialect. And they still speak Yiddish or Flemish, you know. Even Brussels is a French-speaking city, but okay. So that's one thing. Then we have to live all together in one room. I had in a villa, even, you know, it was difficult. It was difficult for them also, because, you know, they survived. My father was, the German took him again in 1943. He was tortured. He was already in a cattle train to go to Auschwitz. He managed to jump out of the cattle train. He could survive. They passed so many, I won't make it here very short, if not we can speak and speak. But I mean, you know, my parents were very nervous. I was very quiet. We were in the countryside, you know.
I'd like you
It was a real shock in the other way.
And by then you and your sister had become fundamentally Christian, Catholic.
We were 100% Christian.
And you were re-entering a Jewish household.
So,
did that create any kind of conflict or any...
Of course, it may also be conflict. Because if I wouldn't find my parents back after the war, I would be today Christian. And that's the whole irony, if I can use this word, that what makes you Jewish? You are born in this house and then you were sentenced to death. I was already a Christian, you know.
How was your mother confronted with the idea of you...
The first Sunday, in clandestiny, my sister and I, we went to the church. When I came back with my sister, my mother said, "Where are you coming from?" Of course. You know, okay, we couldn't hide. Of course, they were very upset and very nervous. So you have to make a conversion in the other way, if I can say, you know. So it was very difficult. Okay, luckily, my father made quite a lot of money after the war. Not in diamond business, because the diamond burst was closed in 1946, till everybody came back. And
how long do you feel the sense of alienation within the family actually lasted once you had been introduced to the
I
family?
tell you, they are coming from Galicia, from Poland. They were completely assimilated, that's true. But you know, the education I get and the way they are, it makes a big gap. And it remains years and years with my father. Unfortunately, my mother passed away very young. She was 50 years old. And my father left, he passed away the day after September 11. He was 93 years old. But most of our life, we couldn't get along very well.
What kind of sense of Judaism did you have as a young man once you reconciled yourself one way or another to becoming Jewish and living in a Jewish household? Did you have any sense of Zionistic leanings? Was Israel important to you? Did you make the trip to Israel?
First of all, I want to tell you, after the war, the feeling and the sentiment anti-German was very strong. I mean, all the friends I have, I was only 10 years old, 10 years, we feel from such injustice, nobody can explain this. Why they killed 6 million people of our people? Why they killed 1.5 million innocent people? Because they were not 16 years old, they couldn't use it as a slave labor in a concentration camp. You know, in Belgium, take the example of Belgium, they deport newborn baby, you know, to people to 93 years old. That was the extreme. I mean, how can you do this?
So did you feel any kind of sense of allegiance to...
Then I become very Zionist. Everybody was very Zionist in those days. Everybody was very excited in 1948 when the state of Israel, we see the future, we see, it's difficult to explain. And then in 1953, I was 16 years old, I went to Zionist organization and I was very active. I was there till 1957. I was, they call it Rosh Tnuah, I managed this. You know, we learned everything about Israel, about the Zionism and this and that. We were very concerned from our heritage. Then I discovered that, in fact, we are one of the oldest people of the world, oldest civilization, and we learned very quickly everything about Judaism. We didn't forget the catechism and the Christian, but of course we were Jewish, 110% Jewish.
And you made a trip to Israel?
Yes, then in 1957 I was volunteer to go to Israel, and I was on the first boat. And this is also a symbol. Germany, it was Adenauer with Ben-Gurion, they met together and they gave 3 boats, Germany gave 3 big boats, packet boats to Israel. And I was on the first trip of one of those boats, it was called Jerusalem, and there was the president of Israel, Ben-Zvi, on this boat. But it was, you know, it's not like today you take the plane. I have to take a night train from Brussels to Marseille, south of France. Then you took a boat, it takes about 1 week. We stop in Genoa, we stop in Napoli. But what is very interesting to know, the last night we couldn't sleep because we know we will arrive to Israel. It was really the promised land. It was real.
We move on now in terms of your... I'm going to move on a little bit, Silvain, only because we're sort of moving on in time, and I'd like everybody to hear a little bit about your trip back to the village. Having returned from Israel as a volunteer, your life took on a certain course. You became involved in the diamond business yourself. You married and subsequently divorced. And it's right that you did see Tante Fanny as an adult. You certainly visited her, but you didn't visit the village again until much, much later. Is that right?
After the war, Tante Fanny, she moved to another village. Until so long she was living, we visit all the time. She passed away in the 50s, but the trauma, the traumatism of what happens in those few years is so intense, it's so much, that never dare to go back and to find a place and to see how and what and this and that. And then it's only 4 years ago, I was invited to a wedding of the brother of Stéphane de la Tourelle, who is Belgian like me. And it occurred that it happens in a castle only 5 kilometers from this village called Mont Saint-Gilbert. And then suddenly I had an impulse. I want to see it, I have to find it, I have to how and what and this. And then I just go in the street and I find a taxi. It's not Hong Kong, it's a taxi. You know, you're on the countryside. I find a guy who was a taxi man, and I told him, just like this, I was a hidden Jewish guy, children in the village next door, 5 kilometers from here. I have only one memory. It's this grotto and a big garden. And the guy, the taxi man said, listen, the whole village is very religious. There are many grottos. So, okay. So he said, you know, I give you advice. You go on the main square of the village, there is a pub, go there, and they will help you. Okay. And it's Sunday, it's full of smoke and people drinking beer, as you mentioned. But I must say, the reaction of the people really amazed me. The manageress of this pub, she is a lady in the 40s. Of course, she didn't know about the war. Same thing, I tell her, just like this, I was a Hindu child in this village during the war. And she said, and I said, remember, there is a grotto. She said, listen, there is one monk living on the property. He's the last one. All other monks are there. They were there during the war. There are many grottos. If you want, I go with you. She left the cafe, the pub, everything. We go together there. It's a big property, used to belong to the Prince of Arenberg, with a castle, with a lake, and this. And this last monk is the last one. He is sitting on the tractor, full of mud. He's cutting the grass. He's coming, and I go to him like this, and I say, listen, I was a Indian child during the war, and perhaps here. And suddenly, we come together, we hug each other, and I said to him, Christian people like you saved my life. And he answered me, it's normal. Jesus was Jewish.
At the wedding, Silvain, you met somebody who told you about an organisation called the Enfant Cache.
Enfant caché.
Enfant Caché, thank you.
But I have to tell you, I was on the property, there were little grotto, and I recognized it's not the place. So I met on the same part, on the same wedding, a friend that I didn't see since we were 16 years old in the service organization. And he told me, you know, and I told him, you know, this afternoon I've been in the village there, where was he? Oh, he said, my brother is the secretary of the organization. I didn't know exist organization, because there were 3,500 children, only in Belgium, we didn't. They're all over in France, in Holland, and this and that. And they make organization. I didn't know about it. So the next day, I went to this in Brussels. I go there, and come there, and everything is on workout. They have all the workout from all the gym, the address and everything. And he asked me, what's your name? And I said, Gilbert, but it's not my real name. He said, never mind, Gilbert, let's see. And then suddenly I see Gilbert. So I have to tell you one thing. After the war, my name was again Silvain. Till 65, I was going very often to the States. I made a lot of business. And you know, to say Gilbert in French, Silvain, they understood Gilbert. So for my own, it was very easy. I changed the name, but I didn't know it was my name during the war.
You had no recollection?
No recollection,
Maybe at some level. So tell me, having found the enfant caché, you were able to find your name and Annie's name, and more importantly, it's right, you found the address of the villa.
Yes, but first of all, so he has all the record, and he tell me, listen, that's your name. So the first time I know, and he gave me also the telephone from Annie. I didn't see Annie perhaps once on all those years. So I didn't see her at least 25 years. And I called her and I said, Annie, it's me. And she knows it's me. I mean, I didn't see her 25 years, surely. And she asked me where you are. And I said, I'm here. I mean, you could be anywhere. And she said, come. And I asked her where you live. I couldn't believe it on the phone. She was on the same address where I used to live 20 years in Barcelona.
Wow.
Same address. So the next day I go there, we hugged together, we were crying. She's our lady, she was 68 years old, 3 years older than me, she was a mother, a grandmother, she has a company in this. And I said, Annie, did you dare go back to the village? And she said, never.
Silvain, were you ever able to find the villa again?
Yes, then on the record he gave me the name of the villa and the address. So of course I rushed to go there, and I did something what nobody would do, I would never do normally. It was a villa, it's a countryside, there's a little gate on the side, and I go directly on the garden because I was looking for this famous grotto. But you don't go on the property of somebody you don't know. And a gentleman come out and he said, oh, can I help you? And I said, listen, I was a Hindu child, Jewish child during the war, and perhaps here. But I remember grotto. He said, there is no grotto here. But perhaps come in. And then he wants to speak, that I speak to his children. And I explained them that they killed 1.5 million children like me, and I was hidden here in the village. But I don't recognize inside in the villa. He said, listen, what I can do, I bought this villa a few years ago to a foreign lady. She's born in this village. Everybody knows each other in such small village. And he calls, and the lady come on the phone, and he said, what's your name? And I said, Gilbert. And suddenly I couldn't believe, and she said, the brother of Marie Antoinette. Can you imagine this? So I said, c'est Silvain. She said, yes. I go on the phone, and she said, listen, and Jacqueline Pillois, they changed the number of the house in the street. We were playing together in the famous grotto a little bit further in the street. There are at least 1,200 people living in the same village. I just find the person. But what is also, and this is, I think, my destiny. You know, I went to her home, the same thing, we hugged, we were crying. She never knew we were Jewish. And she was in the same class with my sister, she's here. Why I said it's my destiny? Because then she showed me some pictures, she explained me different things, that on Sunday all the children were playing together in the same parish with the nun and this, and then she had some pictures she gave to me. 6 months later, after 1 month, normally I was calling, and left, I hear nothing. I don't know, she was alone, she didn't have family. So I called la mairie, the mayor, and I said, listen, perhaps you know this person, she's born in the village, and she said, yes, she passed away. So it means if I would come 6 months later, I would never see her. And then I go a little bit further, in the same street, and then I recognize the villa. The villa is here, and it's written on the front, Massabielle, that's the name of the grotto. And I do the same. I get in the garden, and there the grotto is here. Here, it's I mean in front of the grotto. Here. And there is the Virgin Maria, and everything is there. The guy come out. It's a lady came out, and he said, "What you are doing here?" And I said, "I was a Hindu child, I'm looking where I was, and I think it's here." And she said, "Please come in." Very nice people. And as soon as I come, I saw on the ground the pavement. I said, "That's it." But it was also very strange. There were doors like Art Nouveau with glasses. And I said, "This was the door." And she said, "Yes." It were in the attic, and a few months ago we find it nice and we put it there. It's a young couple, he's an architect. What is also amazing, I look in the living room and I remember the piano. And there was a piano, exactly on the same place. And I said, "Oh, we have a piano." And say, "Yes, we bought it 6 months ago." And it put on the same place. It's incredible.
Sylvain, did it feel like coming home? I mean, can you describe your own personal sensations at that time?
I must say the reaction of the people was very good. Will not go on details. I went back to Brussels.
Your own sensation, can you tell us how it felt for you to be back in the villa?
It's a sort of relief. It's difficult for me to imagine how was the condition, because they renovated the villa and this and that. But when I went back to Brussels and asked Annie, I said, "Listen, come with me." And then she dared to come. We get together hand by hand if we were 5 and 8 years old. Don't forget, she is really somebody today. And we were there, the people were very nice. And of course she told me that's the bed where we were sleeping together, doing four together. And she explained me a lot of things, how we went to the church, how was the school, and this because she's older than me. And of course the emotion is there. After a lifetime, you know?
For sure. And 1996 you made Hong Kong your home, and certainly after marrying some